Welcome everyone to our weekly podcast of the Football Tailgaters. In here we talk everything about the NFL, and with me today I have Yams, our Jets fan, Andy, our unbiased NFL fan, and myself, Aaron, a Cowboys fan. It's finally over. The Super Bowl has concluded. The Chiefs versus the Eagles, all the way down to the wire, and the Chiefs came out with the win in a close one. So it was a little bit of a controversial ending, so we're going to be talking about that at the very beginning of this podcast, but we have plenty of things to go over, and now that basically the offseason is going to, it's going to get started here. So we're going to talk about the ending of the Super Bowl where the Eagles robbed, and then we'll go over who's, we'll talk about the Chiefs and if they're the favorite to win the Super Bowl again. And then, is Andy Reid currently the best head coach in the league? And then we'll also go over Aaron Rodgers and if he's holding the Green Bay Packers back, as well as a report really new. And I was just told about this, that the New York Jets are showing, they gave a list of their possible QBs that they want to acquire, and we'll go down the list once we get to that topic. But there's obviously some big names, Aaron Rodgers and Matthew Stafford, Derek Carr, and so on. So we'll go over that. And then Denver Broncos are interested in Rex Ryan being the defensive coordinator, and if the Broncos should sign him, if it's a good idea. We'll also go over Colts targeting Eagles offensive coordinator Shane. I don't know if I can pronounce this right. Steichen? Is that right?
I think so.
Right? Okay. Is that German? It sounds German. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. But anyways, the offensive coordinator of the Eagles, which is one of the highest, the highest rank, they're number 2 here in points of the offense this past season for the Eagles. So, you really watch the Eagles games and you see how good the offense was. So, is this going to be a good deal if they end up hiring him? And then also Derek Carr went over with the Raiders front office and saying he basically won't accept any trade if he goes to another team. So he wants to walk away as a free agent. Is this a smart move by him? So yeah, those are all the topics. And then we'll start with this past Sunday. So it was great. It was great. Until you can argue until the very end, very controversial ending here to the Super Bowl. We got the Eagles and the Chiefs went down to the wire in Arizona. Super Bowl 57. So I don't know if you guys saw the meme of the quote-unquote script being thrown around with the 34-37 Eagles winning the game. And people are joking about that. Clearly that wasn't right. But it was a controversial ending nonetheless because of a late call in the fourth quarter, which decided if the Eagles get another chance, basically, because it was 3rd and 8, and there was a holding call by, what was his name again? Oh my gosh.
Bradley, I believe now.
Bradbury, holding Juju Smith on a crossing route. And from a certain angle, you can see that you don't, because there's multiple angles on this, and you can determine a different opinion. I think from each angle, you can come to a different conclusion. And a lot of people were seeing the broadcasting one, the main one, which was the front angle where you see kind of like the offense going towards the touchdown. So you don't really see anything happening there, but, there was a holding penalty call, and it was a little bit late, and there was huge outrage, and I don't blame the Eagles fans. So let's go over and kind of unravel that, get our opinions here going, and I'll ask the question to you guys. Were the Eagles robbed from the Super Bowl?
You don't want to see a call end the game that way, but at the end of the day, he did admit that he did tug on the jersey, so at least you hear someone admit to it, so it kind of offsets the call it was meant to be called. It robbed us, the audience, to see something fantastic at the end, to see if the Eagles are able to do it, but the Chiefs played a better game in the second half.
I really don't mind if it was earlier in the game, but the timing of when the flag was thrown, that's the biggest problem that I have. There wasn't too many holding penalties throughout the game. They were letting them play most of the whole game. Mostly we had like false starts or offsides, which happens. But throughout the whole game, they were letting them play. So I just hate to see it at the end of the day or at the end of the game for it to be decided by a holding penalty. Even though we can all see that it was a holding, but it wasn't a big time holding penalty. So I don't like it, but at the end of the day, Kansas City Chiefs, they played better.
Yes, the Eagles had opportunities to really take control of this. And we really thought here that the defense of the Eagles was really going to show up. But you got to give credit to the offensive line, to the Chiefs. They were holding it down. 0 sacks. That was amazing. And it does suck. If I was an Eagles fan, I would be very furious. If it was my favorite team, I would be absolutely furious. But it's just what it is. It's happened a lot. This is not the only time. This is nothing new to us.
Yeah,
And
we've been saying throughout the year that don't put the game on the refs' hands. So unfortunately, it came out to on the very end of the wire. Awesome game, great game, but you just put it on the hands of the refs to be able to call those things.
Now, it's a big issue because it does come down to the refs. And then you start seeing these articles coming out about these, the referees and if it's fixed or not, with all the betting or whatever, or even the fact that maybe they don't have enough time because these aren't full-time employees. You got to realize these people are human, right? So they're going based off what they're seeing with their eye. And the NFL claims they're going through rigorous training, and but this is once they get hired, they get trained. And then they're thrown into the games and stuff like that. They're not full-time employees. It's out there. You can research it, all that stuff. It's something that the NFL has to really open up and start kind of figuring things out. Not just adding a replay call and slowing things down more, because that's just going to make it awful. Loosen up on the on the penalties or change the system. You got to figure out. This is a problem that, if it's going to keep happening and people are going to keep complaining about it as if it's something new and making a huge outrage, if it's that big of a problem, speak out and I don't know, even the players are the ones with the biggest voice here on what the NFL should do, and to see if they could get influenced on changing the process of how the referees are being held to some extent of accountability, right? Like suspension if they get a horrible call wrong after the game is over. But it's just they're human, and that's what I'm coming to the conclusion of, is they're human, right? So it's going to be impossible to get a 100% fair game, right? It's impossible. If you want everything to be as clean as the rule should be, then the game is going to take like 5 hours to finish, because you're being like, I don't know, if you're reviewing or whatever, or unless they find some kind of efficient system that really keeps it from slowing down. But that's kind of what I'm saying. I don't know if you guys get what I'm saying.
No, completely.
You're never gonna get rid of this.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen, and it is what it is.
I mean, the only thing that I can say that they can actually help out is if New York, which they always said it comes down to New York calling them and saying, hey, this is what we're looking at, since they actually have to be able to review the plays right there and then at the spot. So I for me, it just makes it a little strange to me that they haven't changed that for New York to right away tell the officials, hey, this is what the call is, so they don't spend too much time on the field and reviewing the plays.
Especially with the last night's throw, if it was catchable or not. When was a flag thrown? When Mahomes threw the ball, it was out of bounds, right?
Yeah.
No, it was inbounds.
It was
inbounds.
It was inbounds, but
it landed in the touch. It landed in the touchdown, but he was pretty. You can argue that he was not in the vicinity to catch it.
He wasn't gonna make it.
Yeah, I doubt that he was gonna. Make it for that little tiny tug of the shirt of the jersey.
Well, it was the beginning, because I don't know where. Like, have you guys seen the other angle?
Yeah, he did tug on the jersey. I did see that.
That stopped the motion of him turning, and it slowed him down. But obviously, the ball wasn't in the air whenever he got tugged. The ball was in the air as soon as he was making his way up. But he was. You can argue that the angle of he was going at and the speed wasn't. He wasn't going full speed towards the touchdown, and that's why it seemed like it was very far away. You can argue that, but you can also say it was just a terrible thrown ball.
There's so many factors. There's so many factors that you can point at this, and I completely agree. It was holding, but the problem that I have that it just came at the worst time.
Yeah.
Yes, the timing. Like, you don't do that. If it was a tremendous big time, like a foul, like when we talked about the Saints against the Rams that year, that the guy just pushed them right when the ball wasn't even close to them, then of course that's a horrible that was not called a horrible penalty. But in this case, you put in a flag on a tremendous game where we get over 70 points.
So late in the game.
So late when it's going to decide who's going to win the game. Basically, that's what you're doing. and it just ruins it.
I'm not a fan of the call. I think the flag came in way too late.
Yeah, no, me too. But it is what it is.
It came in a little bit late. So can we agree on maybe changing on how the penalties are called? So let's say like the first 3 quarters, you can nitpick, but on the last one, it has to be something like so obvious that you can't miss it.
Yeah.
No. For me, it's the type of officiating that you're going to do throughout the game. If you're going to be calling games, then be consistent. If you're going to be calling fouls throughout the game, fine, be consistent until the end. But if you're not going to be calling...
That's hard.
Yeah, I know, but it's all about consistency for me, and that's how the rhythm of the play goes.
How can you be consistent? How can you be consistent when your employees, your referees, aren't full-time?
Yeah, no, for sure. No, they have to be full-time and get paid better. I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar business. Of course they should be able to better. Yeah.
Exactly. So we might see here like the NFL kind of being cheap on how they work this system. Why hasn't it been more on the top of their list? Because this is not something that the NFL goes, oh, we're going to reevaluate the whole system of refereeing and stuff like that. They haven't said anything about
corporate
that.
America,
they're kind of quiet about it.
It's just corporate America. The leadership, the big time honchos, they're just cheap and they don't want to pay up. It's just, and the employees just they're the ones that do the work and they don't get paid enough.
It's only until their viewership and the money, the income when it's affected, how much money they're getting.
Like I don't even see it getting affected, honestly.
Exactly, because people are still going to go watch the games unless it's horrible.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Really bad. So let's jump on over to the Chiefs now that they won the Super Bowl 57. Patrick Mahomes, I think he's one of my favorite quarterbacks right now in the league. Super exciting to watch. And you can even argue that he finished this whole thing on one leg, which is incredible. But you can't discredit also what Jalen Hurts was doing. And he's one dangerous quarterback too, especially with the system that they had put down with the run past option play thing, system, scheme, whatever. And with the Chiefs, their defense wasn't that good, but blah, 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 whatever. But it did its job. So the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, and now we're going to call our Super Bowl, I should say if the Chiefs should be, or are they the favorite to win the Super Bowl for next year, Super Bowl 58?
I think so. They're going to get their things fixed. They're going to get a better wide receiver. But I wouldn't rule out some of the other teams. I mean, we still have the 49ers. We still have the Bills if the Bills get it right. But yeah, from what I can see is Chiefs might be the favorite. But again, it might be 49ers. I don't know. They're already a team. They just need a quarterback.
Yeah, as of this moment right now, I do believe the Chiefs are the best team. But with the offseason coming around, we're going to see so many changes. It's very exciting that this offseason's coming around because we're going to have a lot of quarterbacks moving, a lot of free agents signing elsewhere. But right now, as it stands, it's the Chiefs that has the best position to win another Super Bowl next year.
Yeah, I agree with both of you on this one. The Chiefs are definitely the favorite. And with the kind of roster they had, if they're only willing to improve on it, and if they don't lose a lot of key pieces, which you could argue they didn't really have much other than, Kelsey, Chris Jones, Mahomes, and I don't know who else, but those are the ones off the top of my head. If they keep those main pieces intact, which is going to be the deal, maybe Chris Jones, I don't know his contract right now situation, but they are the favorites. So let's shift on over quickly on Andy Reid, since he's the head coach. And what we saw from him was, I think, a great example of how to handle the game in the situation that they were in, being down in, what was it, the third quarter. They had to play catch up. The way they handled it was great. The defense also held their own too. Not a great defense. So we're going to give some credit here to Andy Reid. I don't know how in charge of the defense he is, but we know he's an offensive guru when it comes to that kind of stuff. Is Andy Reid currently the best head coach in the league? What do you guys think?
Absolutely. He is. And we can confirm that the play calls come from him and not Eric Bieniemy. He is an offensive genius at least for now. Right now, he is. Bill Belichick, he might have all the trophies, but I think it might be Andy Reid.
Yeah, as of right now, I do believe so. And that's one of the reasons why I picked the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl, because of the experience that they have. And also Mahomes, he's a rock star, superstar. But one little example that I saw today in today's reporting that Andy Reid did in the Super Bowl, just how Belichick did also in the Super Bowl, is that they make their team wear a white uniform. And so if that helps, that when the opposing team, when they wear white gloves, you can't really actually see if like the holding calls or like if they're being done correctly. So that just gives a little bit of a I don't know, a push for that team to be better than the opposing team. So just those little knickknacks to here and there that just makes the team better under Bill Belichick and Andy Reid.
I think what we've seen from Andy Reid has been, you can't question anything he's done so far. He's been a great coach, and with the cards he's been dealt, it's been a great situation for him. Obviously, I think I see him being the best coach right now, especially in his situation. He's got possibly a dynasty team here, especially with Belichick not being in the best position, with the Patriots being a rebuild. I don't see anybody else right now. Everyone is kind of climbing up the ladder of being great, but they're nowhere near those two head coaches.
Yeah, and
you can have like Doug Peterson. He's got a way up to go. He's got a young team. Sean Payton is barely gonna start. He was a great coach, right? We'll see what he does with the Broncos. Well, who else? Off the top of my head, you get the San Francisco one.
Yeah, for sure.
There's just Kyle Shanahan, yeah. So there's not much going on right now except for those two top dogs, and right now Andy Reid is the one to beat.
And if you look at the teams, they're very similar throughout the dynasty of Bill Belichick. If I just remember like Randy Moss being like the top superstar and as a wide receiver, and after that they just keep changing wide receivers constantly, and they usually have like a go-to guy, Edelman, Gronkowski, of course, and then they had Welker and Amendola.
Yeah, they make the wide receivers the best in the league. Yeah, good.
So no, but what I'm saying is that there's always one key guy that just gets the ball, and that's what Kelsey is over here with the Kansas City Chiefs.
For sure.
And the other wide receivers that the Patriots have, like they just keep changing them constantly. And over here with the Kansas City Chiefs, they're doing the same thing, always changing them completely. We've been seeing Josh Gordon. We have, I believe, Scatling was one. Juju Smith-Schuster. They've just been changing them constantly, and they've been just having success with a superstar quarterback, Tom Brady and Mahomes.
And you see, they're not bothered on whether they build a superstar team. They build on players who can do their job, and that's it.
Yeah. Also, the running
intangibles.
Game. Look at the Patriots running game. They have so many running backs as well. And it's
similar
as
the
the Chiefs. Exactly. They have so many different running backs that there's not like a superstar, and they keep changing them each year. So it's very similar, and it's just based on experience. They have really amazing experience.
Speaking of running game, the Eagles kind of quit on theirs last night.
I do.
Yeah, you can reason why that's maybe the inexperience and
came in for Sirianni.
They got a little nervous maybe, and they felt like they needed to throw the ball, and which is a great example of we don't know how the Eagles are going to be next year because they made Hurts, even though he played phenomenal. I'm going to say
he played great.
He played amazing, but now if he's going to have to keep throwing the ball in, and let's say in the next season that they don't run the ball like they usually do, that's when we know how good of Jalen Hurts will be. This is the first game that I saw him throw as many throws as he did in a game. So next year, we'll see how it goes with him. Now that defensive coordinators are going to have more tape on this guy to be able to stop him. So it'll be interesting.
Why don't we talk about a veteran quarterback here who may be on the move or maybe not? Aaron Rodgers with the Green Bay Packers. It's a difficult situation what he has there. It's kind of up in the air. Some can say he's 100% out of there. Some may say that he may stay there. He's 36 years old? How old is he?
I think he's 37.
37, right. So he's getting up there in age. And I think if he's really looking to win something, have a successful future, I would see him moving out of the Packers. But I guess, it's a difficult relationship that they have. So is Aaron Rodgers holding the Green Bay Packers back?
I see it both ways. Aaron Rodgers is holding the Green Bay Packers back with his lack of leadership, and maybe I'll retire this year, maybe I'll retire, or maybe I won't retire, and being uncommittal. And then the Packers, they hold Aaron Rodgers back because they have lack of support, they have poor coaching decisions, they don't build a team around him. At least it's under the LaFleur head coaching job is what in my opinion.
Of course, he's holding the Green Bay Packers back. And I agree with you. The Green Bay Packers are also holding him back in a way because they don't give him the weapons that he needs. Now, his lack of leadership also affects it, that he doesn't practice with his young wide receivers during the offseason. That completely affects things. And then he just, like you're saying, he's kind of like another Brett Favre. They're very similar. I'm going to retire. I'm not going to retire. I believe he's going to go like to some type of prison, or like in a confinement, all dark, and they're just going to give him like food. Like that's the only light he's going to be able to see.
Darkness.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a weird situation.
But he'll be on the McAfee tomorrow.
It's annoying. And there's reports that the players in Green Bay are actually tired of this type of situation. They just want to know, are we going to have him, or can we move on? But we just want a decision like now so we can look for the next season.
This is a very distracting situation for the Packers, and it's hurting them. And they need to be assertive and move on or not, right? You got this quarterback who's like, I don't know if I want to stay here. I do, maybe not. I don't know. The front office has to step up and make a move here, and this is going to decide what it is. Now, Rodgers did speak something about having like a retreat, and then he's going to have his decision. He's going to talk about it or whatever, right? So by then, you can kind of decide what's going to happen here, but they need to get rid of him as soon as possible before his value goes down. It's over. It's over. You can't win with this guy because you didn't play your cards right. You didn't do the right situation. You didn't put him in a great situation the whole time. You got rid of his number one wide receiver. That was a sign that they're kind of maybe losing faith in him, or maybe they're putting too much trust in him. Who knows? But it's just this complicated relationship that they have, and they need to get rid of him ASAP. It's awful.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, again, with the quarterback situation with Aaron Rodgers. So we have a recent report here that you guys were mentioning. What was it, after the Super Bowl? You
mean for the Jets situation?
Yeah, the Jets situation.
Yeah, so supposedly there's a reporter that he worked for FS1, and he was talking to the Jets organization throughout the time that the Super Bowl was going on. Not throughout the game, just throughout the whole event. And everybody's thinking that Derek Carr could be the one that everybody goes to try to get besides Aaron Rodgers. But supposedly that there's some reports that the Jets organization have Derek Carr fourth on their list to go and get. They have Aaron Rodgers, Jimmy Garoppolo, Matthew Stafford, surprisingly, and then Derek Carr.
Right.
That's news to me.
Oh, you didn't know?
I didn't know. I wouldn't even consider Jimmy Garoppolo. He's too injury prone. I think I would be upset. But I don't know, maybe this has to do with their offensive hire, Nathaniel Hackett. They also hired a wide receivers coach in Todd Downing. He was the assistant head coach in Titans. So I don't know if he had some kind of connection with Matthew Stafford that all of a sudden he is now in the works of getting. But I always figured that he was going to go back to the Rams. I didn't know he was even interested in hearing, or the Rams are interested in hearing anything about Matthew Stafford.
It's a very delicate situation, in my opinion, with the Jets, because Aaron Rodgers is going to ask for, I don't know, if even more money. I have no clue. They're going to ask for a lot for him, like I don't know how many first rounds. And then you're going to have that situation with him that if he decides to retire or not, it's horrible. The trade has to be very careful if that trade's going to happen. It's going to have to be like, how do you say it? Like those trades, if he retires, they don't get another first round. It's just going to be one. They have to be very careful with that trade. But I'm a big fan of athletes that are put their heart and soul into the game, kind of like the Michael Jordans, the Kobe Bryants, the Tom Bradys. And Derek Carr seems like the type of player or athlete that just puts his heart and soul into it, that he actually feels for the game.
Right.
And I do really like that of him. Maybe the talent is not completely there, but he's not a horrible quarterback, and maybe it'll do him well in another team. So it would be for me Aaron Rodgers because of the talent. Otherwise, it is what it is. And then Derek Carr.
For me too.
Yeah. Matthew Stafford, I'm a big fan of him, but he has injuries and his elbow situation. I don't know how that's gonna go and play out. And then Jimmy Garoppolo, as you said, Yams, he's injured every single year. I haven't seen him play the whole year. Honestly, he's always injured, so I wouldn't get him.
Yeah, out of all of them, it's surprising that the least injury prone is on the last on the last spot in the list, which is kind of interesting to me. So that means that they really don't value his talent that much. They're looking more so talent rather than durability, which is kind of weird to me. It's just the situation with Aaron Rodgers is so. I don't know if I should even, if I was in the front office for the Jets, if I would even make a move.
Well, they already
acquiring
kind of.
him.
They're trying to make a move. Yeah,
they did reach out today.
Yeah, they have reached out, so they're trying.
Now, do you think they're aggressive? They're going to be aggressive with their pricing, or because they're obviously you're going to try and get them as cheap as possible. But how desperate are the Jets?
I think they're pretty desperate.
But that's the scary part.
That is the scary part.
That's very scary because that's how the Browns
got ruined.
That's how they got ruined. Like these types of stupidity trades, just because you're so desperate for a Super Bowl. It just doesn't work that way. Or, I mean, the coaches are like fighting for their jobs too, and the GM as well. They want to keep their jobs.
Yeah.
But you don't throw everything just for him to get him.
I agree. And I hope Joe Douglas has a hold of this and it's not coming from Woody Johnson. And from the perspective of let's go ahead and get Aaron Rodgers, and he sees ka-ching, ka-ching, because tickets will be much more expensive because now they have Aaron Rodgers. So I hope they go this the right way. And Joe Douglas is known for not throwing big bucks at players. So
I'll tell you something. If they do get Aaron Rodgers, besides all of this,
they're going to the Super Bowl.
I don't know if they'll go to the Super Bowl, but I know that for a fact they're going to go to the playoffs. Like it's a
because
like
they got an immense talent. They got a lot of talent on both sides.
If Derek Carr goes, I'm not 100% sure that they would go to the playoffs.
Derek Carr, though, I think is going to be surrounded by the better talent here than I don't think he's ever been surrounded by better talent than what the Jets have.
No, he did.
Derek Carr,
Raiders,
they
were loaded.
Yeah, they were loaded, man. They had Waller, they had Renfro, they had the best wide receiver in Devontae Adams. They had Jacobs.
The problem with Derek Carr is the organization and the head coaching failed him.
For sure,
but
100%.
they had the team. He had the team.
They went to the playoffs with Gruden last year.
So with Waller, first of all, he's been dealing with injuries, and it's kind of a situation where he's got to be healthy to be great. Josh Jacobs, he's the best one out of the ones you mentioned. Hunter Renfrow, I think, is a pretty key piece to what you would say to a Amendola or
what about
all those
Devontae Adams, dude, is the best wide receiver in the league.
No, I know exactly right, but this was barely the first year, and he's already out.
Yeah, they did him ugly. So that's in my opinion.
So what do they see that we're not seeing?
The Raiders, we don't know what happens behind the scenes. We don't know if there's some like tough decisions there. And I'm not a fan of Josh McDaniels as the head coach. And for Davis, the owner, to decide that they're gonna keep the coach instead of Derek Carr, I think it's a huge mistake, because I know how Josh McDaniel is as a head coach, but that's the Raiders situation. That's one of the reasons why the Raiders are not successful for these types of decisions.
We only got to see him with a really good talent around him, and it was only 1 year, and then he got benched at the very end because they just didn't think he was performing well enough. And yeah, he was having some issues, but it's more of so the coaching than I would say the players. How can you have that amount of talent and not be able to produce more wins than that? Yeah, you're in a competitive division, but still, right?
For sure.
So it's going to be interesting to see what if he does go to the Jet, what he's able to do there with a different coaching staff, because the talent's there. But what about the coaching?
Yep. We'll see. He gets cut tomorrow, doesn't he?
Yeah, tomorrow he'll get cut.
We'll see. I mean, he might
No, is it the 15th?
Oh, the 15th. So
on Wednesday.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, there's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks. The Colts, the 49ers, New Orleans, the Jets.
There's some quarterbacks that weren't mentioned there that could possibly maybe be considered, to me at least.
Tannehill?
Maybe.
No thanks.
I think there's a question that you were going to ask, Aaron, about Derek Carr as well, that he's not accepting the trade, basically, from the Raiders.
Oh, right. Yeah. He's, well, I mean, that was later on the list. But yeah, the front office and him pretty much agreed that he won't accept a trade to wherever the Raiders want to take him. So is that going to be a smart move by him?
Of course. They did him ugly. Why would he help a team that benched him with 2 games left?
Yeah, sending him a message.
sending him a message. Like I think he knows his worth and he's showing it. And you can take it, Raiders. You're not getting anything from my trade.
Besides that, he's actually helping the team that he's going to go to as well, because that team,
course, yeah.
that team he's going to go to, he wants them to keep their picks in order to build that team. So yeah, of course it's a smart decision, and of course, just like even if you call him a bitter employee, of course he should be completely bitter. You like pushing it out of the organization, so good for him.
Yeah, it's pretty smart, and it's very affirmative, I should say. He's stern about it because he's very butthurt about what they did to him. I would be too, and good for him. Hopefully he finds a team that he wants to go to. Now he's going to be able to have that leeway. So it's going to be awesome to see what he's going to be able to do on whatever team he goes to. But it seems that the top, because he hasn't really mentioned on what teams. No, he has, right? What teams he would be interested in?
He hasn't mentioned. He hasn't. No, the only thing is that was really close is that the Raiders were really in big time talks with the Saints. And just Derek Carr just told the Raiders.
The Saints, right. Yeah. And that's when he's like, no, I'm not going to.
Yeah, I'm not going to accept any trade, exactly.
Right. Yeah, because the Saints, for him, wouldn't be a great option. The Saints aren't a bad team at all, but I think he wants to be in a better situation. So,
I mean, that's debatable, but I guess we can save that for another time.
Why don't we talk about the Denver Broncos now and their defensive coordinator situation here? Now that they hire Sean Payton, that's already a huge win for them, I think, right?
Yeah,
they're interested in
100%.
They're interested in getting Rex Ryan as a defensive coordinator. He was a head coach for the Jets for 6 years, I think it was, and then 2 years with the Bills, and then from there he went on to be an analyst. Should the Broncos sign him if they get an opportunity, if they strike a deal?
Well, I don't know if he would accept it, but Rex Ryan as a defensive coordinator he has a proven track record of success, and he would bring a bunch of knowledge and expertise to the team. So, I don't know if he's already been out of the system for too long, but yeah, I love Rex Ryan. It's a great idea.
Are you kidding? That's an awesome idea if they bring Rex Ryan. He went to the AFC Championship with the Jets, and the Jets haven't been there since him, actually. And they always had a tremendous defense. He actually was the defensive corner for the Ravens as well when they were at top of their game as well. So,
but has he been out of the system too long? When they kind of
continue to watch.
2016.
They continue to watch the football. He still goes to ESPN and talks about it, so it's part of his job to continue to watch football. And he has a really good monster team there with the defense, with the defensive of
course,
the Broncos.
So it's all kind of set. But wouldn't you come back as a head coach, not a defensive coordinator? That's why I'm like, would he accept that?
Well, and there's nobody calling at his door to become a head coach. This is an opportunity for him to show up and say, look, I do still have the talent to make a team better, to prove to everybody that I can be a head coach again. And then under Sean Payton, are you kidding? It's a great duo. Of course.
If this is something he wants to do, is come back and become a head coach, this is the way to do it.
I would be jealous.
No, yeah. I think it would be great. And especially with the kind of talent they have on the defensive end. They got a young team there. And it's been since 2016, I was saying. Last game with the Buffalo. Yeah, it was in 2016.
Maybe, unfortunately, he's not a good head coach, and just a great coordinator.
Yeah.
And
maybe.
Then players love to play for him. You talk to all the
last
players.
Time he was a coordinator was in 2008, but he was pretty in control of the Jets' defense, no?
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
Man. Yeah, for sure. They had Red Lewis, Reed. They had a monster defense.
Oh yeah, with Baltimore, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
so it's gonna be cool.
So is it too early to say that maybe the Broncos might be Super Bowl contenders?
Well, you gotta figure out the situation with Russell Wilson.
It's the Russell Wilson situation too. I'm giving him an off year.
The problem is the offense.
Yeah, the defense was amazing, but I'm sorry, the defense was amazing. The offense was horrible. Mm-hmm. So I'm giving Russell Wilson a year off, and if he can't produce under Sean Payton, he's gonna get benched. I think Sean Payton is not gonna be playing around with this.
Yeah, no, it's well. What's his name? Payton is more of the offensive side because of what we saw with the Saints, and at least from what I remember. So it's gonna be. I hope. Well, I mean, I don't hope anything, but it would make more sense for the Broncos to be kind of aggressive in trying to get him if he's even interested, because we have to see if he's willing to do that thing. Go back to coaching, because it's been, what, 6 years?
Yeah, it's been a while, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I know Sean Payton wanted Vic Fangio, but he got hired somewhere else, so that's
He
over.
got hired.
Wasn't he used? Wasn't he for 2 weeks contract for the Eagles this last time? Or was it not him?
Not sure, but yeah, there was a coordinator that was hired by the Eagles for 2 weeks in order to prepare for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think it was him.
Well, didn't work out, so.
It didn't work.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it was him.
It was him?
I can confirm.
So that's he was going to be a big time. Yeah, if it's him, then of course he's considered as a big time talent as a coordinator. So of course he was going to get hired somewhere.
Hey, so now that we're mentioning the Eagles, offensive coordinator Shane Steichen, I think I'm pronouncing that right. The Colts are targeting him in being the head coach, right?
Yes.
Because right now they have the open spot still. They have the whole situation with Jeff Saturday midseason. Didn't really work out. So they're interested in getting him as a head coach. And I think from what we're seeing here, or what we saw from this season, it was great for them. So for the Eagles on the offensive end. So if the Colts do get a deal with Shane Steichen, is this going to be a good hire by the Colts?
Hopefully. He was hired as an offensive coordinator for the Eagles, and he was only there since 2021, so I don't know if that's enough experience. He was able to build this great offense that we saw in the Super Bowl, so yeah, maybe. We don't know what's going on with the Colts. They don't have a quarterback. It's hard to say if it's even a good hire. It's kind of a mess of an organization right now, so, I mean, good luck to him if he gets it. Sounds like he is.
Yeah, it's a big question mark. And it looks like the Colts don't even know what they're doing. Honestly,
Oof.
there's no quarterback there. It's just dysfunctional. That this new head coach that's gonna come in, he's gonna like bring his own team, and then they hired Jeff Saturday throughout the season, and everybody was shocked with that hire. It gives so much disrespect to other coordinators that are available.
And he only won one game, right?
I believe he only won one game. So, and then him saying that Jeff Saturday is in the top candidates to be a head coach as well is just crazy. So. No, whatever the Colts are doing, I just disagree with.
There's definitely some dysfunction in that front office of the Colts, and they need to figure something out soon, because this is going to be, if they do hire him, this probably most likely won't end well for Shane, and it won't be, I don't think it'll be his fault. It's going to be the type of hire where he gets hired, and then like 3 weeks, he gets fired because they're not doing good. Or sorry, did I say 3 weeks? 3 years. 2 years, I don't know. However, the patience level on the Colts, don't really know that, because they've been kind of, they can't figure out their quarterback situation, and then they finally came to the conclusion that, hey, our coach kind of sucks, when you get rid of him. And then they get, Jeff Saturday again. Like you said, it was a disrespect to other coordinators, and he only won one game. So it's something that the front office, unless they fix that situation up there may be dysfunction.
It's the owner, man. It's completely the owner. That's the problem.
Jim Irsay, he doesn't know what he wants, or
yeah, putting Frank Reich as the scapegoat was just a horrible idea, and you'll see that the Carolina Panthers are gonna do so much better than the Colts next year under Frank Reich, and that's with Sam Darnold. That's how it sounds right now. How's it look right now?
So the bar is set pretty low for the Colts here. It's gonna be a weird situation for them. So as long as I don't know what the owner's thinking right now, because the movements that they've been doing, it's just kind of weird. So for now, I think Shane is a great offensive coordinator from what we saw. Amazing. How flexible can he be? And if he does get hired there, the staff he'll bring in, if that's going to work out, and how much power they get into doing things with big-time decisions with the players and so on. And let's see how they handle this draft. The Colts. So there's a lot of questions, I think, with the Colts, and they got ways to go to even fix and be good. We might see great players leaving there because they're just disgruntled with how they're being handled right now.
Total rebuild over there.
Yeah. They got some great players that may be on the move. Do you think, what's his name, Jonathan Taylor was still there?
Yeah, I'm sure he'll still be there. Now, the question is, and maybe we should bring it up in another podcast, is should he still be a top 5 pick in fantasy?
He might be traded.
Okay. Well, we'll see. Hopefully. We'll talk about that in some other episode when it comes up. So for now, I think it's going to be a good time to end it here. that's going to be it for this episode. Yep. Thank you guys for listening to the very end. Anyone that has made it all the way through, hopefully you guys enjoyed. And hopefully we see you guys interacting with us on our social media, which is football_tailgaters on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Thank you guys again for listening, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Thank you.